Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the 2023 TWC Workforce Forum. We are in Building Bridges, connecting youth to the workforce, which is awesome. Thank you guys for coming to the last session of the day, because it's going to be awesome. It's not on my notes, but it's going to be awesome. Just saying. Forum materials are available on the TWC website. Please silence all electronic devices, and if you guys need to take a phone call, please do it out in the hallway. If time permits, at the conclusion, then there will be a Q&A period, and I'll walk around with the microphone. That way we get you guys recorded. If we don't have enough time to answer questions, then you guys can request the presenter's contact information at the end of the session. You'll also receive an electronic survey after the event. If you guys will please complete this as your feedback for this conference, it would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you need CEU credits and you need to get that signed, there's a table. By now, you guys probably know this, but there's a table at the far end by the South Phoenix room. And with that, I want to introduce Dawn.
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming the last session of the day. I know everyone's already thinking about what traffic is going to look like in another hour and 15 minutes or so. But welcome to Building Bridges, Connecting Youth to Workforce. We've had a lot of sessions this forum on youth, out-of-school youth, opportunity youth, which we understand is a difficult population to serve. And so we're hoping, get closer to the mic. Better? Okay. So we're hoping that from this session, you're going to have some really good ideas and strategies for not only engaging and keeping out-of-school youth engaged, but how to find them and you know, how to really bring them into the fold and get them services and make them successful. And I have a top-notch panel. I want to thank all my panelists for agreeing to be on this session today, and I'm going to introduce them. I wanted to talk a little bit about what this session is about. So we constantly hear about employers struggling to fill vacancies, not enough workers, where are the workers? There's a mismatch between youth skills and employer needs that is, threatening to become even wider, as industry evolves with technology. And they've transformed, business processes to include, things like artificial intelligence or robotics even in some of the logistics fields. And so about 2/3 of today's 5-year-olds will be 15. And in about 15 years, they're going to find themselves looking at jobs that don't exist right now. So we think the landscape of what workforce is going to look like is going to change. And so the challenge presents an opportunity to reconsider how jobs and skills need to be aligned and how potential employers can demonstrate those skills, or how employees can demonstrate the skills of the future. One of our primary responsibilities as partners in the workforce system is preparing tomorrow's workforce. I think you've all heard that many, many times in many, many places. Workforce is the bridge between education, employers, and youth. And jobs connecting them to the workforce through career exploration, career readiness training, and skills development helps the youth gain the job skills they need and connects them with the employers that are seeking well-trained workers. This session is going to explore innovative youth engagement strategies, and we've got some doozies over here that I think you're really going to like hearing about. What's working, what's not working, and how to effectively connect with this population. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel. I'm going to introduce them in the order that they're going to be speaking. They have a wonderful PowerPoint for you. And then at the end, we have some follow-on questions, as well as we'll take questions from the audience. So first up, I have Mariana Vega, Director of Labor Market Information with Texas Workforce Commission. Sitting next to her is Lori Knight, Education Outreach Department Manager with TWC. To my left, I have Odette Flores-Ruiz, who is the Youth Program Coordinator in Borderplex. And then I have LaToya Casimere, Youth Services in the Gulf Coast Board area. They have wonderful material for you, and so I'm going to let them get started.
Thank you, Dawn. Thanks. All right, everybody. Good to be here. Mariana Vega. I'm the Director for Labor Market Information at the Texas Workforce Commission. And I have to admit, I'm a little nervous because I'm going to try to get the clicker thing right and the PowerPoint going. So after this first slide, I think I'll be good. So as an intro to this session, I am going to start out with labor market data and just hopefully show how it could be an important tool to connect youth to the workforce. Okay, it worked. So first of all, what is labor market information? So labor market information basically refers to data and analysis that's related to the job market. It can tell you a lot of different things, such as job trends, the jobs and skills employers are looking for, what industries are hiring, where those jobs are located, and areas of growth and decline. We can use this data to answer a lot of questions that a lot of youth might have. For example, sometimes young folks, want to know what different types of jobs they can work at hospitals. Like, what are the different jobs at hospitals? What can they earn? What kind of job can I get, when I graduate high school? What certificates or degrees are necessary to become, I don't know, an engineer, or what other occupation may be of interest? So what data is available? Well, LMI basically describes the world of work. It can range from anything that is happening in the economy at a more broad level to drilling down to careers, to giving you descriptions of different occupations, the typical education required for entry, skills and qualifications needed, and of course, wages. What will I earn? That's always of interest to students. It also covers future demand. What kind of jobs will be in demand in the future, and what skills will be needed? Why is it important? Well, the goal of Good Career Advice is always to give the person the ability to kind of make informed career decisions, right? And the benefit of the data is that it can help you understand the employment needs of where you live or maybe where you want to live. So before I get started, I did want to kind of go over a little bit of the economic landscape of Texas. So LMI was invited to this presentation, so of course we're always going to bring statistics to the table, right? And so hopefully I'll make this easy to understand for everybody. So here we have on this slide the number of jobs in Texas, which, by the way, is at a record high. So prior to the pandemic, we were on an upward trajectory. We were adding jobs month to month. We had 119 consecutive months of annual growth. We actually reached new employment highs for 31 consecutive months, and this was through February 2020. Prior to the pandemic, we were also seeing historic low unemployment rates. They were at 4% or below. And then, of course, COVID happened, and you can see that on the graph. We lost 1.4 million jobs over the course of 2 months, and the unemployment rate went up to 12.8%. And so we all know what kind of disruptions that caused. I can say, though, now the state has gotten back on track, and we're back on that upward trajectory. The unemployment right now stands at 4%, and it has been there it has been at 4 or below for the last 13 consecutive months. And as of October 2021, we've actually surpassed total employment record highs that were recorded in February of 2020. So we're doing very well. So here we have the labor force participation rate and the unemployment rate for the Texas labor force, and it's broken down by age group. So important to note on this slide is that the prime working age groups are those for 25 to 54. So they do have the lowest unemployment rates and the highest participation rates among all age groups. They also make up about 52% of the working age civilians, so more than the other 4 age groups combined. Now, if we look at kind of like that yellow or light orange circle, those are your 16 to 19-year-olds. And they have a 12-month unemployment rate average of 11.6%. It is 5.8% for those that are 20 to 24. So definitely elevated compared to the monthly unemployment rate that we see for all Texans, which is at 4%. So in other words, if you look at the 16 to 19-year-olds, 11.6% of those people that are 16 to 19 want a job, but they don't have one. So this could be due to a variety of reasons. As you can see on the graph, they also have a very low participation rate that's at 32.2%. We all know that, at 16 and 19, these kids may still be in school. So they might not be looking for a job, and if they are, they might just be available for part-time work. A lot of times as well, teenagers don't have as much experience or maybe skills and qualifications, so the competition is a little bit harder. They might be having more of a challenging time finding work, which leads to higher unemployment rates. So even though this age group, 16 and 19, they do have lower participation rates and higher unemployment rates, it doesn't mean that these can't change over time. They do. As these kids gain more experience and skills, and the economic conditions change as well because they can improve, their labor participation rates and unemployment rates improve as well. So here we have a slide that depicts earnings and unemployment rates by educational attainment at the, at the national level. So basically what the data shows is the higher the education, the higher the earnings, and the lower the unemployment rates. So according to the data, in 2021, those that had a bachelor's degree earned a median weekly wage of about $1,300, while those with only a high school diploma earned a weekly wage of about $800 a week. So that means that on average, an individual with a bachelor's degree earned about 65% more than those only with a high school diploma. So we also know that the unemployment rate generally becomes lower as the educational attainment increases. So in other words, you have a better chance of getting a job with increased education. So education is not the only factor. There's a lot of variation in the earnings and the occupations that people with different levels of education can achieve. For example, having a college degree does not guarantee a high-paying job, just as not having a college degree doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be stuck in a low-paying job. So the specific field of study and the skills and experience a person has can greatly impact potential earnings as well as job opportunities. So here you have occupations that typically require an associate's degree, and you have your high-paying jobs, of course, and your low-paying jobs. This next slide kind of shows the same thing. It shows you some of the highest and lowest paying jobs that typically require a bachelor's degree for entry. So it is important to note that earning potential can vary widely based on some factors, which includes industry, occupation, and location. However, in general, those that invest in their education and try to gain, post-secondary skills and trainings tend to have better earning potential in the long run, as well as opportunities for career advancement. So where will those opportunities be? Well, we do produce projections in LMI, which forecast demand for different types of jobs in the future. So in Texas, we are expecting to add 2.3 million job openings by 2030. We do expect that 39% of those jobs will require some post-secondary education or training. So there are certain occupational groups that do typically require higher education. Those are management, business, and finance, just to name a few, while there's others that have a higher concentration of occupations that only require a high school degree. And so just as an example, over 86% of occupations in production and office and administrative support only require a high school diploma. However, we always like to say, though, that almost any job will require some sort of additional training. Some of that you will get on the job. So this heat map shows where the highest growth is expected as far as workforce development board area. North Central does lead with a projected growth of 30.7, and I apologize because that is cut off there. And it's followed by rural capital with an expected growth of 26.6%, or almost 100,000 jobs. We do have larger metro areas like Gulf Coast, which is on the graph, that show they're growing by 17.6%. It's a bit lower in percent terms. However, as far as jobs added, they are expected to add over 550,000 jobs by 2030. All of the metro areas are expected to show good growth, at least by 8%. So here, right here are the occupations that are expected to grow the fastest in Texas, and all of these occupations are adding at least 1,000 jobs. We do have nurse practitioners up there that are expected to add close to 10,000 jobs. We also have cooks up there that are expected to add 67,000 jobs. And the education varies for all of these occupations. You do have occupations like cooks and animal caretakers that typically only require a high school diploma. But you have some others like nurse practitioners, your data scientists, your information analysts that require at least a bachelor's, and they can also have higher earning potential. So as you can see, the data here kind of gives students the ability to gain some insights on the job market and identify careers that could be in high demand, and let you know what those are as well as where that demand will be. So as I mentioned earlier, we can also look at skills and certificates that are most in demand. Right here you have a list of the list of certificates that are most in demand, and this is based on the 25 fastest growing occupations in Texas that you saw on the previous slide before. So due to this, you do see a lot of certificates that are healthcare, restaurant, and IT related. This is for Texas, but it can be recreated for almost any region in Texas. Sorry. So the previous slides, we talked a little bit about the data. So here's an example that actually one of my coworkers came up with, and I just thought it was great because I think it's good to use with students. So there's a lot of students I know that want to be professional athletes, and this looks at particularly students that want to play in the NFL team, right? Football on an NFL team. So the NFL team each NFL team has 55 players. And that's actually an NFL requirement. There are 32 teams on the NFL, so that means that there are 1,720 NFL players in the entire world. So if we take a look at what the data says, in Texas, we have over 200,000 registered nurses, over 200,000 heavy truck drivers, and over 200,000 elementary and secondary school teachers combined. So if there's only 1,720 NFL players and there's over 200,000 registered nurses, in which one is it more likely that you're going to get a job, right? The NFL or becoming a nurse or even a truck driver or a school teacher. This is where the data comes in, and it kind of gives you a more realistic look as to what is more highly probable. And we know that if you get the training to become a nurse, that more than likely you're going to land that job. So how realistic is that career goal? That is what the data helps us achieve. And at the end of the day, it's not that we want to take people away from what they love to do or what their interests are. We just want to make sure that they know that there's career options. There's a lot of people with natural athletic ability that end up being coaches, teachers, athletic trainers, physicians that work with athletes, all of that. So there is a way to do what you love to do in a way that can still earn you a paycheck to pay the bills. So it's just looking at everything a little bit more realistic, which we like to call a reality check, which will help me transition to my last two slides that go over some of the applications that we use in our department to reach out to youth. And you might have heard of some of these. This first one is Reality Check, and it integrates labor market data. And it's basically a budget calculator that will show you how much your living expenses will cost and how much you need to earn to pay for those expenses. So basically what it does, it lets you explore careers and tells you how much you're going to earn and will it be enough to support your lifestyle. So this last one is Career Check. And the reason I'm highlighting both of these is because there are flagship tools. They get over 1 million hits a month, so they're pretty popular with kids. Career Check is a college and career exploration tool. It allows you to research occupations, colleges, universities. It has an interest profiler. It allows you to put together a graduation plan if you're in high school. It also has an interactive career exploration game. So just two of our tools. I did put together a little packet of information if you're interested in picking it up. After the presentation, it'll be up here at the table. And it'll list many more of our tools that we have available if you want to explore the data and see what we have to offer that you can use maybe to work with kids. But with that, that concludes my portion, and I will hand the mic over to Lori Knight. She, along with her team, work with students, teachers, using a lot of our data and tools. They reach out to almost everybody in the education realm. So, Lori.
Thank you, Mariana. So let me go ahead and fast forward here. I'm Vice President of the Short Stack Committee, so let me move this. So I've noticed that almost every session I've sat in today kind of regressed into a conversation about the outreach specialist, which is really exciting for me because that is the charge and the team that I lead. And I want to talk about how our, TWC, the agency, the workforce solution offices, our board offices are coming together to bring industry and education together, but in very meaningful ways. So I'm just going to kind of cover broad strokes, a little bit about the program, because our practitioners are going to be able to talk to you about the details and what that looks like in practice in the field. Essentially, we work with, again, anybody in the realm of education, and that could be from a student and their family to a teacher, a counselor, administrators, and folks out within the community. And some of you might be sitting here saying, well, how is that relevant to me? I don't work in the K through 12 experience. I'm in AEL, or I'm in Voc Rehab, or I'm in some other program. We do have regional teams, and yes, their main focus is that K through 12 arena. However, our state level team, we can work with anybody. We can even train your staff and faculty to replicate our services by providing the same onboarding training that we provide to our regional specialists. So we can help you help your customers with the same information. Now, why did we start the conversation with labor market data? Because what we do, essentially, is we take that information, we take information about the workforce and not just the data, but the practical, how do I write a resume, what does a conversation with a professional look like? We take all of that information and then we bring it to youth in easily digestible ways. Usually the very first conversation that our specialists have with students about labor market data is just the vocabulary. So it's, yep, we're here to talk to you about labor market data, and what does that look like, and what does that mean? And we give them the information in a way that's usually connected to activities, hands-on learning, sometimes videos, so that they take the information, they learn the vocabulary, and they realize it's really not that scary of a conversation. And then we kind of help them understand, now why is it important? Like, why are we even having this conversation? The importance of applying that knowledge to their own decision-making of what they're going to do beyond high school. So we can do that in presentations, in workshops, professional development sessions with teachers and counselors, or come to conferences and do breakout sessions or keynote speeches. But really, when it comes to the nuts and bolts of being an education outreach specialist, you gotta have somebody who can wear a lot of different hats. Tons of different conversations happen, again, because our audiences vary so much, but then so does the content that we're sharing. So in many cases, we are there to inform, sometimes we're there to cheerlead, sometimes we're there just to make the connections. One thing I can tell you about our specialists is we are not only experts in LMI, but we are amazing intermediaries. We are amazing network connectors, and that's just what we do. We can look at a region, we can do a needs assessment, determine what are what's the labor market data in this area, and what programs are being offered, and are they aligning? And if not, we bring the right people to the table to have conversations about how to build those pathways. So we're doing a lot of this intermediary work. Now, when it comes to bringing new teams into our network, and boards can join at any time, we really start everybody at the same baseline. Right, so everybody's onboarded, every new specialist is onboarded to understand what is the role of an education specialist, who are my partners, what do I need to do in this role, how can I help me, somebody give me like templates of presentations and worksheets, and we share all of that and best practices, and we communicate in a huge network and stay connected as often as we can. But they're also trained to understand I need to do a local needs assessment and figure out what do I need to do that's specific to my area, specific to the content, or specific to my approach in how to feed this information so that it has local impact. So we are also wraparound service and referral experts. I think we do an amazing job of that. Really, it's about helping the student understand what is the best fit for me. Sometimes that includes a conversation with the family. And then also understanding if our specialists know about all of the services available through TWC, all of the services, the special training programs from their local providers, the CTE programs that are in the feeder high schools that are 7th graders that we're having conversations with where they're gonna end up. We can give all of that information and provide a holistic approach to send that student to the wraparound services that are available to them, in many cases through the TWC, could be free, to help them actually achieve whatever their long-term goals are. I could stand here and brag about these specialist teams all day long, and I would never run out of things to say. But I want to look just specifically at what our teams have done in the last year. Now keep in mind, this is data for 14 teams, some of them who started probably at the second quarter of the year, being able to interact with students. So this is what it looks like. Right now, our teams are relatively small. Some teams have one specialist, like over here in the South Plains area, right? We have Mariana here representing. She's the one specialist in that entire region. Some of our teams have two. Our rural CAP girls are here too, if you don't mind letting folks know, right? But some of our teams are also now operating with 4 or 5. So there is a lot of variation in how the regions are, approaching and supporting these teams. But right now, we want to talk about building, right? Because this, again, 14 teams, our impact, we're small, but we're mighty. We provided in last year, 2022, almost 7,500 individual sessions, the majority of which are happening with students. We were also able to present to our partners, and this could be post-secondary partners, industry, Chamber of Commerce, economic development, over 1,500 individual sessions. And as far as workshops, career workshops, this is all career readiness, how to write a resume, mock interviewing, tips for the job search, over 13,000 sessions. We also had one-on-one meetings with over 10,000 students, and that could be conversation ranging from, I think this is what I want to do in a career, to I know what I want to do, what is the next step? What are my options beyond high school if maybe a traditional collegiate pathway isn't necessarily for me, right? We're having all those conversations. We've also taught folks how to specifically use our TWC tools, whether it's to mine the data, to understand the data, or to do just career exploration and research. And then we also bring in subject matter experts, SME workshops, where we're bringing industry and employer experts to come talk to students in the classrooms, and we were able to orchestrate over 1,100 of those in the last year. Overall, we had over 250,000 individuals attending a session that either our specialists were present, or they organized and coordinated it, or they were there specifically to work with the students. And of those 306,000 who came, we were fully engaged, speaking one-on-one with over 168,000 individuals. It's a lot of work. And thank you, yeah, it's exciting. And right now we have 20 regions on board. We got our folks over in the Panhandle just signed up 2 weeks ago, so we're excited. We're in 20 regions. The other 8, we're coming for you. We want to get everybody on board in the network, and then once we can get everyone in the network, we need to start looking at how do we grow these teams, because those teams who are able to work with districts in their region, they could have 30 districts in the region, and right now they're working with 10. We need to figure out how do we sustain them so that they can build the capacity to reach every student. Because one thing all of our specialists can tell you is every student who gets to sit in a presentation will come to them afterwards and like, oh my gosh, this is great information. I'm so glad that I was here. Every student needs to hear that, right? Every student, no excuses and leaving nobody behind. And so we need to figure out how do we get in front of every student across the state, because ultimately our goal is the same as our academic partners. We're here to make sure students succeed in whatever it is that they choose to do beyond high school and what they choose to do as long-term careers. That's our mission. It's a shared mission. And so once our partners understand that, opening the door for us is relatively easy. So that's the spiel that I'm giving about our specialists and our teams. I also have a brochure to share, which will show you not just where we're located, but also provide you with one email address if you're interested in working with our specialists. If you just want someone to come out and show you what it's like, send me an email. Let me know where you're located, and I can either point you to a regional team or one of our teams can handle it. And again, this is whether you're an AEL, voc rehab, K through 12, it doesn't matter. We're here to support where we can. So I'm going to ask our lovely practitioners here who are in the field and actually working with the specialists, our team leads from both the Borderplex region and the Gulf Coast region, to talk to you about what it looks like to connect students to the workforce at the local level.
Hi, good afternoon. Are you guys tired? How many of you know baseball? We're in the 7th inning stretch, right? So this is it. We're almost done. So just bear with us a little bit longer. But my name is Odette Flores, and I am with Workforce Solutions Borderplex in El Paso. El Paso is far. It's at the very tip of Texas. And so I do want to share a little bit about what we're doing in El Paso to engage the youth in our region. So if anybody knows anything about the region that we work with, we serve pretty much all of West Texas. El Paso is the major city in our region, but we also serve 6 other counties that are very rural, and they're pretty far. So we serve the counties of Hudspeth, Culberson, I'm going to name them all, Presidio, Marfa's in Presidio, Brewster, and Jeff Davis County. And so some of them are 3 to 4.5 hours from El Paso. So those are the areas that we do try to outreach. The first thing that I want to talk about is what we've coined the next force. We have come to realize that youth don't think like us. They don't react the way we do, and if we think that we know what they want, we're wrong. And so one of the things that we've done is we've changed or we've created the workforce for youth, and they don't want to be called youth, just to let you know that. They want to be, we call them young persons or we call them young adults, because a 23-year-old does not want to be considered a youth. And although we serve, people between the ages of 14 to 24, we want to make sure that they are able to identify with us. And so one of the things that we've done is we've coined the phrase next force, because they're the workforce, the next workforce, right? The workforce of tomorrow. And so that's one of the things that we're doing. We're creating a completely separate website. We have our Borderplex, Workforce Borderplex website, but then we're creating the Next Force website so that they have a place that they can go to, so that they have a place that they want to go into, because I've gone into our website and it's boring. It's for adults, right? And so we want to make sure that they have somewhere that they want to engage. We want to make sure that we're speaking their language. I have 3 teenagers at home, and they say things and I have no idea what that means. And then when I figure out what it means, I try to use it, and they're like, Mom, we don't say that anymore. And so that's exactly what we're going through. And so we want to make sure that we are integrating youth and the youth voice into our outreach and into our program. One of our career navigators is 23 years old and asked me which career navigator is the most popular. The 23-year-old, because she knows exactly what they're talking about. She speaks their language, and so that's one of the things that we want to do. Now, with Next Force, another thing that we're doing is that we're creating or attempting to create better work-based learning opportunities. We want to give them the jobs that they want. We want it to become a career exploration, if that's what it is, or get them the foot into the jobs that they want, which means not that there's anything wrong with placing them in a retail store or a fast food restaurant, but is that going to get them in the door to the job, that career? We don't want jobs, we want careers. And so what we're trying to do is find companies that are willing to give the youth the opportunity to explore meaningful work-based learning opportunities. This means that we're going to try and place them in a marketing firm. We have taken a youth, and I'm going to talk about the series in a little while, but we took a youth that participated in one of our we call it a Rise and Grind series. It's like a little mini series. They participated in that. She wanted to continue in marketing, so we placed her in a work-based learning opportunity at our office with our marketing team so that she could learn the ins and outs and decide if that is what she wanted to do as a career. And guess what? She does. And so now she has moved on and she's going to school. So those are the things that we want to do. We want to give them more meaningful opportunities to learn, to grow, and to see if it's something that they want to do. Again, we want to integrate that youth voice. We want to make sure that that we are hearing what they say. And I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. When I talk about the series that I'm going to introduce to you, I'm going to talk about that youth voice and show you how we don't speak the same language. And so we want to make sure that their language is understood and that their voice is heard. And so one of the things that we're doing is that we're integrating that youth voice. We want to have a youth advisory council that is able to give us some feedback on whether or not we're doing things right. And then we have what we called the pilot, and what started this whole Next Force idea. We have, of course, our outreach specialists, our education and outreach specialists, but we thought education and outreach specialists, that's a long name. So what we wanted to do was give them a little bit of a different, a cooler name. So we called it the Grind Talk team. Our Grind Talk team, and they came out with a Rise and Grind video series, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Another thing that we've done is during the pandemic, we discovered that El Paso has a huge deficiency in, the businesses themselves have a deficiency in digital capabilities and digital technology. And so at that time, we were able to help some companies to become more technologically connected, and we've continued that by creating the Digital Transformation Specialist team. And they are made up of, guess what? Youth, okay? Those young adults. Why? Because we know that they are very capable of navigating technology a lot better than adults. And one of the hardest hit industries in El Paso was the childcare industry. And those are all small businesses. Some of them were working in very old-fashioned methods that they just did not have technology. So we decided to fix a problem with a problem. We're able to provide our young adults with a meaningful work experience, while at the same time helping these small business, small child care providers with technology. And so what they are doing is they're serving as consultants to these childcare businesses. They're going in evaluating what they have in technology, if they have any. And then we were able to use some family services funding to be able to buy technology for these childcare providers. They were able to, what they call Google My Business, is get them on the Google map so that if somebody Googles childcare in my area, that business is now going to come up. And that's something that some of these businesses had no idea could be done, and so our youth were able to do that. And so we continue to have this experience. We've been able to help over 60 childcare providers through the digital transformation team. So these are the pilots when we talk about our Next Force. Another thing that we're doing is that we have decided to meet the young adults where they are instead of making them come to us. Most people, if you ask anybody on the street, they're going to say, well, do you know who the workforce is? They're going to say, yes, it's the unemployment office. Right? And so trying to explain to them that we're not the unemployment office, we're the employment office, to a young adult is not something that they're not even interested in that. At that point, they just want to know, what can you do for me? And so, again, the centers, they're geared towards adults. They're kind of boring, right? And so what we wanted to do was we want to meet the youth where they are. Our first one that we've done this with is our Foster Youth Transition Center, which is the Pride Center. We are going to them instead of making foster youth that may be facing some, transportation barriers and even trust barriers, I would say. We're going to them. We're going to the transition center where they're most comfortable, where they're used to going for assistance. And what we're doing is that our career navigators, our education and outreach specialists, our job developers, the entire team goes on Fridays. So they're able to receive their job readiness from the education and outreach specialists. They're able to, receive their support services and any paperwork that needs to be done by the career navigator. Eligibility can be done on site. That is being provided on site to those youth. They know we're going to be there on Fridays. They know that we're going to be able to provide them services, so they show up. And that way, we're able to provide whatever services they need in an area where they are comfortable and where they trust. So that's the first one. The second one, where we are co-located now, it's a recreation center for the city of El Paso. And this came about because the management team took a tour of different areas in El Paso, trying to see what were the needs. And this was the second week in August. School had just started. It's a rec center, so they have basketball courts, and I think they have pickleball. They have a library. They have just different, different activities. But it's the second week of school, and there's about 10 kids playing basketball. Second week of school, they were ditching. So the idea comes, they're coming here. They obviously are comfortable coming here, so let's place our services there. So now we've co-located 2 representatives there that are able to offer our services and connect them with the workforce. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to meet the clients where they are instead of making them come to us. Because the chances, they're not going to school, so the chances that they're going to come to us are slim. If we're able to go to where they are, then they may be willing to talk to us, and maybe we can get them to go back to school and receive some of our services. And if they're not willing to go back to school, then maybe we can get them to work. So those are the ideas of co-location. Oh, okay. So this is, very proud of this. This is the Rise and Grind video series. So during COVID, again, there was just a disconnect. What are we going to do to connect with these youth? And then they started to go back to school, and we all realized that they faced different adversity, different problems, different challenges than they did before 2020. The mindset changed, the situation changed. And so what we wanted to do was find a way to connect with them and outreach them in a different way. Now, during COVID, and I don't know if this happened to all of you, but during COVID, I really appreciated my Netflix account. I was so happy that I had it and that we were able to binge I've never watched so much TV in my life because everybody was there. And so we had the idea to create a series called the Rise and Grind series. And this goes through what the youth or what the young adults are going through or went through through COVID and after COVID and in the recovery phase. Now, this is the funny story, and when I say we don't speak their language, we don't speak their language. Originally, we have a great marketing team, and so we have a team, and some of you may have been in one of their sessions, but we have Bianca and Candlelight, and they wrote this script, and our marketing team thought this is really, really, really good, and so we started working with a high school called Riverside High School. They have a production and media CTE course, and we work with them. They do all sorts of videos, they do all sorts of production activities, and so we went to them, and the first thing they said is, we don't talk like this. So again, this was an opportunity for us to be able to give them the chance to use their voice, to use their skills, and to use their knowledge to create something great. So they rewrote the entire script. So they rewrote it, they produced the videos, they did all of that wonderful stuff. We had another school doing the acting, okay? And another school was doing the, like the editing. I don't know what you call that. But I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer. It's a 6-part series, and it made, I watched the first video, and it made me want to watch the second one. I wanted to binge watch the way you do your Netflix series. So I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for you just so you can get an idea of what it is. The beauty of this is because we are using it with our education and outreach specialist teams, we have integrated work readiness and then connecting them at the very end with our team so that they're able to connect with them at the end and say, hey, you want to learn more about the workforce, this is what you need to do, and it has a QR code and is able to connect with our team. So it's a really good video series. I'm going to just play the trailer for you. Want to play that? Does it play from the screen, do you know? It should. No, maybe not from there. No. I wonder why I played. No.
Tech support.
Does anybody know why it's not playing from here?
Odette, you want me to go see if there's any young people out there?
Young people, that they'd probably be able to fix it if, did anybody? It was embedded in there and it played when I tested it. So I don't know. Oh, there you go.
You need to work on this, dude. You need to work on this. No more flunking classes. No more reject interviews.
It's not supposed to be like this. We need to talk. We are really running low on funds right now.
I just have a ton of things going on. Please don't take that personally.
There you go again.
Doodling isn't going to pay the bills. Neither is the periodic table.
Is that what this is? You're paying bills? You know what happens to neglected potential? Nothing happens. And you short yourself.
So that is the trailer for the Rise and Grind video. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. It's Rise and Grind, and if you enter Borderplex, the series will come up. But it's a series that gives them, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide so you can see what it does. No, I don't know where I am. It's because he scrolled somewhere.
Tech support.
Tech support again now, I don't know where.
We don't know where the mouse is.
Now I don't know where the mouse is.
Yeah.
Oh, on the extended, okay. See, there you go. I am not part of the digital transformation team. It's very obvious. So, with the actual videos, that was just the trailer, but with the actual videos in the series, this is what it does. It goes through lists of job readiness skills. It'll say, hey, you need soft skills, all of that, and it lists these. And during those videos, you'll have a recap like this. And then, of course, at the very end, it's going to connect you with our outreach team or our outreach specialist. So it's been very effective. We have teachers that use it in their classrooms. This is a way for, one, again, to outreach the youth, but second, to give those youth that were interested in video production and acting, whatever it was, that opportunity to do what they like. Sometimes that's all they want to do. What we did, some of them were seniors, and so we wanted to make sure that we continued, and we didn't just give them this opportunity here while they were in school. But what we did was we had a small job fair for them, and we're able to connect them with work-based learning opportunities if they qualified for our program to be able to continue once they graduated high school and move on to to either post-secondary or working. And so that was something that was really good. Like I said, we had some of the youth that participated in this series were able to complete a work-based learning in marketing. We had some that did work with some video production companies that we have in El Paso. We also had, one of them that wanted to go into law. We were able to get them into a law firm and have a work-based learning at a law firm. So again, those meaningful work-based learning opportunities that they may not get, if they were trying to do it on their own. So that was another benefit of this of these videos. Now, other ways that we tried to connect with the youth, the very first idea that came was right after the COVID pandemic. We just wanted to know what were they going through, what did they need from us, and so we had a series of what we called just youth listening sessions. We partnered with a local mental health clinic, and they facilitated the sessions. We partnered with other community-based organizations where the youth like to gather, and we were able to have these sessions. And I was in the sessions, but I didn't speak. I wasn't introducing our services at that time. I just wanted to listen and to learn, to see what it is that they needed and how we could connect with them. And so we had the youth listening sessions where they were able to talk about what they needed. And of course, mental health has been one of the biggest what they've expressed that they need the most. We have podcasts where we include our youth, that video production class that is from Riverside High School. They are the ones that record a lot of our podcasts. They record a lot of our series. And then we had two young ladies from that school. They decided that they wanted to just do a little bit more. So one of the things that they did was they organized their own job fair for their school as juniors. And so what we did was we gave them some work-based learning for that summer, and they're doing the job fair again this year as seniors. And we asked, was this for community service hours? What is it that you want to do? And they said, no, we just want to give back. So those are the things that I think work. Those are the things, giving them the opportunity to do what they want to do, and they'll give back. And of course, connect with them. And then of course, our Grind Talk specialists, that's our outreach specialists. They are wonderful with connecting with the youth. They work with the schools very closely to be able to provide them those work readiness and work readiness workshops. They do things as simple as how to tie a tie. We may not think that it's a big deal, but for some youth, maybe some youth that don't have a male figure in their life, and now they're going to need to learn to tie a tie, it's something as simple as that, and connecting with them. So those are the things that we're working on. We're working on, how to get you a job, but it can be as simple as how do you tie a tie? How do you dress, to an interview, and preparing them for those things. One of the things that we are currently working on and that we think may work, we're still in the research and see if it works. We have thought about something called a talk box, where youth are able to go into this phone booth-like type box. I'm just going to say it's a box. And they, can go in and learn, maybe listen to some music, maybe vent, whatever it is. And so, like I said, right now it's just in the, we're just kind of thinking about it. But I did send out a survey to some youth, and these are the numbers, how many said that they would use it. 39% they would use it, and then 46% said maybe, because of course they want to know what does it involve and what, that kind of thing. So again, am I speaking their language? Did I communicate it the right way? And maybe I'll have to, send it out again. But some of the things that I asked was, click all the things that you'd be interested in seeing in this talk box. And of course, music was the first thing. But to my surprise, they did want some information on career options. And so maybe this is the way to go. I was surprised. I wanted to see if that was going to be the lowest category, but it's in there. I think it is at 21% Okay, 21%. Sorry, guys, I need my reading glasses. So 21%. And so, maybe this is the way to go. But again, we want to make sure that, I'm not going to come up with this concept, or, our team is going to come up with this concept, and then guess what? The youth didn't use it. And so we want to make sure that we're including their voice. And so, surveying them and seeing if that's something that they want to do. This is one other concept. Okay. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about is what we have created in El Paso is called the Opportunity Youth Action Network. It is through the Aspen Institute with Opportunity Youth, and so we have partnered with the City of El Paso, with University of Texas at El Paso Community College, all of these entities, and we've created the Opportunity Youth Network to identify those youth. We learned that there's over 15,000 opportunity youth in El Paso, which means that there's 15,000 youth that are not going to school and they're not working. So we want to see what they're doing and how can we get them, if they're not doing anything at all, how can we get them to do something? And so what we want to do is really try and connect with those youth that are disconnected. Some of them are very disadvantaged youth, and so we want to make sure that we're identifying those youth and try to get them something that can get them into the workforce. Okay. With the El Paso Opportunity Youth Network, it's in the beginning phases. We have started with, of course, the data collection, and that's how we found out how many opportunity youth there are in El Paso. We did have the data collected through the Hunt Institute, and now we are in the planning phases. What we've done is we've identified the priority of population. We've broken it down to different populations, and we're going to target one population at a time. We're going to start with one and then work our way to another one until we can, there's a saying that I heard that says, how do you boil the ocean? One cup at a time. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to attack these 15,000 opportunity youth by starting with one population. We've decided that we're going to go ahead and start with those youth that are high school graduates but have not moved on to the workforce and have not moved on to post-secondary after high school. And we know that after the pandemic, there's quite a few. And so that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with that target population, and then we'll go ahead and move on to others. This is my contact information, so if you have any questions or would like more information, you can always reach out. Okay, and then with this, I'm going to go ahead and pass the time over to LaToya.
All right, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm LaToya Casimere from the Gulf Coast region, and I want to briefly talk to you today about some of our youth services that we have, initiatives that we have. And so one of the things in Gulf Coast that we believe is that all youth deserve a quality paid work experience. So like Odette was talking about earlier, making sure that we're connecting with those employers that offer opportunities for those young adults, not just those low-hanging fruits, those retail stores, those fast food restaurants, but those places that will offer opportunities for young adults to explore career opportunities that they are interested in. And so as you think back to your first job and what that did for you, at the time, you may have not thought about, why am I doing this? Whether the job was optional, whether it was out of necessity, whether it was retail, whether it was fast food, or whether it was in a corporate environment. One of the things that paid work experiences provide are an opportunity to boost those skills and habits that are beneficial to a career. They boost a young person's confidence. So it can give them the opportunity to feel success through the application, the training, and the work process. It also builds time management skills and the ability to build a network, which we all know that that's very important today. It also helps build familiarity with contacts in that sector that you have an interest in. And then it also provides an expanded social and professional network that can provide new learning experiences and open the door to new opportunities. And so here, let's see, okay, all right. And so we have 28 one-stop career offices in Gulf Coast. Each of those offices have a youth career advisor. And so those youth career advisors are talking to every young adult that walks through the door, whether they're there with their mom who's doing a SNAP orientation, or whether they are there just to pick up something for someone through one of our pickup services. We're being intentional about going over and talking to those young adults about the services that we offer and how we can connect them to job employment opportunities. We have vocational rehab co-located in 18 of our 28 offices, so that also helps us to be able to better support those young adults with different abilities. And then the adult education literacy partnerships that we have with local community colleges, they exist in 16 of our offices. And so we're also able to, that's another resource that we're able to provide those young adults walking in through the door, and also that access to the GED and ESL classes. We're able to do that easily because we have those partnerships within our offices. And then we also have, of course, our vet reps in 10 of our offices, but everyone is trained on how to provide those services to those populations. All right, and so one of our really neat initiatives in Gulf Coast is our Next Generation initiative. And so we realized an opportunity to connect to more of our out-of-school and opportunity youth. That was a gap that we had previously identified. And so these next-gen service providers, we have 3 of them, they work with our WLA youth funding, and then what they do is they go out and they meet the customers where they are. And so literally, they're heavily involved with our community-based organizations. They're working with our Hayes Centers, which is our foster youth agency in Houston, our DFPS offices, so that we are connecting with those young adults, and also the Coalition for the Homeless. So we have a youth team that works specifically with those young adults experiencing homelessness and seeing how we can connect them once they are work ready to employment or training opportunities. And so with NextGen, there's the flexible access to services. And so it's not our traditional career offices where you're coming in. These people work remotely. So either they're at a computer talking to a young adult through a virtual employment, or they're at a community event, they're at the community centers, they're at the churches, they're at the different schools, and they're just looking for these young adults where they are. One of the unique things with the NextGen is that the NextGen contractors, service providers offer high demand, short-term trainings. And so we look for those trainings that are 6 to 8 week long, but those training opportunities that not only give you the opportunity to gain a credential really quick and upskill, but also that you can land some employment, but it's gonna provide a career pathway for future promotions. So for example, if you wanted to do if you're interested in healthcare, we'll get you into a phlebotomy class. That's about 6 weeks. You can quickly get a job in phlebotomy. It's pays a sustainable wage. But then we can also talk to you about those long-term goals, whether that's nursing, whether that's a nurse anesthetist, LVN or RN. We can talk to you about those different opportunities, but we know that with those out of school and at-risk or opportunity youth, that they need something quick. They want to see the results quickly, and that's how we keep them engaged in our services, by providing them something that they can digest quickly. It offers more virtual options for their training. So like our phlebotomy program, we work with a service provider that does the content. The first 2 weeks is virtual, and then you go in person for those hands-on skills that you need to learn for that industry. But it gives those young adults that flexibility to get started, and then we can work on addressing those transportation barriers and other barriers so that we can get them employed. And so, like most everyone else, we outreach similarly. We have a website. It's not as interesting, like Odette mentioned, that we're working on revamping so that it can be more youth-facing. We're at community events, resource fairs. We have those partnerships with DFPS, and we work with the city of Houston and Gulf Coast to put young people to work. And then our career outreach specialists are in those middle and high schools. And then community-based organizations, we partner with a lot of community-based organizations that provide referrals to us as well. So when they have young people walking in through the door that need assistance, they know what services we provide and they can connect us directly to our youth team. We have a two-way referral system to where they can connect directly with us and we can reach out to the individual immediately and get them engaged in services. Our outreach team, our outreach specialists, the team that Lori talked about, one of the things that they created was the Career Corner Show. And so the Career Corner Show is where we interview young professionals in their first or second year in their career. And so we look at high skill, high growth occupations, and we look for people to interview in those careers, but we want to know the bad. We want to know, what do you wish that you knew? We want to know, is there a good work-life balance? We want to know, what do you wish you would have known at 16 when you decided that you wanted to be a nurse that you didn't find out until you became a nurse? Because we want to make sure that the young people know and are well informed when they decide to make these career choices, because it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And then we want to make sure that once they get into these career paths that they are able to, that they enjoy them, that it fits what their interests and their true hobbies are. We included some entrepreneurial opportunities with this, just because a lot of these young adults are interested in being an entrepreneur. But one of the things that we do with that is that we connect that information and tie it back to our labor market information. So we let them know that, like, okay, you want to be an entrepreneur, these are the pros, these are the cons, but also think about industries that are growing. So think about being doing marketing or digital development, digital creation. Think about think about industries where there's growth opportunities so that your business is going to grow and that it's going to be sustainable. So we make sure that we tie that in with our opportunities that we offer through the Career Corner Show. And so, like everything else, the home visits are one of the things that our Next Gen providers does. So with young adults have barriers, our goal is to remove those barriers. So if it takes me bringing a gas card to your house, we're gonna do that. If it takes bringing a bus pass to your house, we're gonna do that. If you need uniform assistance, we're going to order it through Amazon and have it delivered to your front door so that we make sure that you don't have any barriers and that you can go to work and that you can be successful. Let's see. And so, just the sample of the flow with our Next Gen service providers. So they do the outreach, and of course they meet with the staff and come up with a customized plan, employment plan for whatever their career path is. They get into those trainings, and like I said, there's still the traditional, certifications and post-secondary opportunities available, but we wanted to make sure that we were flexible with our offerings for trainings. So we get you into training and or work-based learning to provide you that exposure, those soft skills, and make sure that one of the things that we push is financial literacy. And so we want to make sure that when these young adults complete these training opportunities, when they go to work, that not only do we just give them the money, but we let them know how to manage that money, because that's very key in making sure that they're going to be successful. And then, just like we talked about earlier, the next-gen contractors have that flexibility in selecting those shorter training occupations, just so that we can meet the needs of the customers that they serve. And these are some of the short-term trainings that they offer. And like I talked about, so you have dental assistants. That's a very short course, but that actually can lead to some long-term employment career paths. And so those are just some of the services we offer. To date, for this fiscal year, we've serviced 1,493 young adults. We've put 466 in training and 372 into a paid work-based learning experience. And so while there's a lot of room for growth, there are also some successes. So we're excited about where we're going. We are also looking to create a youth advisory board so that we want the young adults to help guide the work that we do. We want them to know that their voice is important and that it's critical in their success. So that's what I have, and turn it back over to Dawn.
I'd like to thank again our wonderful panel. If you join me in giving them a hand. This was a really great content, everyone. We have 4 minutes if anyone has a quick question. Question over here.
Okay, so my question would be, for the Youth Advisory Board, who are you outreaching to start bringing all those young adults together?
Does this work? It does, okay. So one of the things that we've done is we want to make sure that we're including all types of youth. So a foster youth, we've got, for example, one of them is a transgender youth, anybody that volunteers and really wants to be part of it, but we want to make sure that we're including the voice of all youth in the advisory council. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we service 13 counties, so we're working with the school districts, and we're also working with the post-secondary institutes and the foster youth transition center and our coalition for the homeless to make sure that we have good representation of all the groups in our population.
Any other questions? We have 3 minutes. One more question? Anybody? Over here.
Out of curiosity, I was wondering, specifically for the workforce board ladies, if any of the youth that you've worked with has indicated that they're interested in becoming like an influencer or some sort of content creator, and how do you address those questions or career paths?
So most middle school students, that's what they want to be when they grow up. They all want to be influencers. And so I think one of the things that I found is just be honest with them. You know, I'll tell them, okay, well, just in case it doesn't work out, what else do you want to do? You know, and so it just makes them think. But sometimes it's, you know, they just want you to tell them the truth. I don't sugarcoat things, but you know, I'll tell them, well, that's totally a possibility if you can do it, but have a plan B, and let's talk about what you want to do for a plan B. And so that's something that I try to do. I don't know if you.
So usually after having that conversation, you know, some kids will double down on it. Oh, but that's what I'm going to be. Then I'm like, great, let's have the conversation about being an entrepreneur. That might need you to have financial literacy information, certifications in business, right, or even a degree in business. So still trying to connect it to some sort of post-secondary credentialing. It's usually what we're trying to do.
We have 45 seconds. Any other questions? All right, thank you all.
I just want to remind everyone that we have some pamphlets and
Yes, we do have some
resources
materials up
if you
here.
want to stop by and just pick one up. That was it. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your commute home and be safe. Thank you.